now is the time when we really need to understand more than ever before how the brain is working.
Baroness Susan Greenfield has pioneered research into how the human brain generates consciousness.
How does the objectivity get converted? How do ordinary old brain cells, ordinary old chemicals, how do they suddenly get into a scenario where you have this subjective sensation no one else can share? It's an impossible but very exciting issue, but I think at the moment it's something we can think about almost as philosophers, rather than expect scientists to come along with a tidy little experiment.
So far, science has been unable to explain how human consciousness is generated, or even what it is.
Science has to be impersonal, and consciousness has to be personal.
Yeah.
Aren't we at that point, when we reach consciousness and the self, or what used to be called the soul, aren't we reaching the very limits of science?
The big problem is not so much that we are saying, well, we're a scientist, so we're going to butt out of this.
Yeah.
It's more, if I said to you, now I've just discovered how the brain generates consciousness.
Yeah.
What would you expect me to show you? We don't even know.
No idea.
No, exactly. No, and see, that's the problem. Until we actually know what kind of answer, what kind of thing or solution are we supposed to come up with, only then can you bring the machinery of scientific method to deal with it.
Not only is science not able to explain human consciousness, it doesn't even know what type of question to ask. For me, it's religion, not science, that speaks of choice, freedom, and responsibility, things that make us human. With neuroscience and religion competing over territory, Susan's work is at the front line of the battle between science and religion.
So are science and religion destined always to conflict?
Absolutely not. I really don't think that that is doing any service to science. Science is all about having curiosity, having an open mind, and challenging everything. So my own view is that you can have two seemingly incompatible things that explain the same phenomena. Well, and you can do both, you can use both, and it doesn't really matter. So as a neuroscientist, I'm quite happy dealing with the subjective of my friend who's now convinced that God is with him. At the same time, one can talk about changes in brain connectivity and how experience leaves its mark on the brain. I don't think that one has to have both things completely reconciled. I think you can have the two sides of the same coin. It doesn't invalidate the coin. And I think that sometimes one sees among some scientists complete intolerance, complete intransigence, complete conviction that you're right and everyone else is wrong. And what real science is about having an open mind, a really open mind to things. And my own view is that if you have a very rigid way of approaching the world, and this might apply to religion as well, then perhaps you're not going to progress or have the same insight as if you just question everything. And as I said, the whole trick is to ask the question rather than know all the answers.
So would you buy the proposition that religious people ought to have respect for science and that scientists ought to have respect for religion?
I would say that all people ought to have respect for all other people. I think respect is something that we can't have enough of, and that irrespective of whether you're religious or scientist or just a human being, that clearly having respect for others is a very good starting point in life.